into it like a regular conversation. And then we'll, no, those, one is 1996, this program right here, creating a new global civilization of Islam. That's the one.
Right.
Yeah, that's the one that is. And then, so the other one is C-SPAN. C-SPAN was right after 9/11. And shoot, it might have been October. I don't know if they had a date on there, but it was, that happened September. This was in October because they was talking about invading Afghanistan, and we was mentioning that in here. They made a big mistake. But anyway, that was the new Black Panther Party and all of those guys. Okay, well, we know who they are from what we've been observing all this time. You know, if the leader gets killed, and you know, it's a long story. He's 53 and he appeared to follow the Nation of Islam diet stuff, the regular physical fitness and all that, and the regular diet, and he dies of a massive heart attack at 53. Shoot, you know, and he didn't win against, you know, the National Negro, and the National Negro had made some move down in San Diego when he was down there. And, you know, I listened to that brother's tapes. He went to South Africa way years ago, before I did. And, I mean, it was deep in apartheid. He went over there in the 80s. You know, he used to be the minister in LA a long time ago. And you could tell what it was, you know, anyway. But he was serious about what he was serious about. The white man was technically the devil, you know, and Weinstein, Goldstein, he used to, you know, so it might have been semi-jahiliyyah, not heavy doses of it, but he was serious about it. That's enough to get you killed. Okay, so if you remember this program, if you remember the lineup, I could visualize the Zionists now. They the ones that helped hook that up. You know, National Press Club and all that. And they got a lineup of Negroes that won't wait. So they thought it was going to be a real clown show, that it's going to be full of that flowery vocabulary. And you could tell the way Fox News interviewed some of those people that they wasn't afraid of them. Because what's the guy that got fired about a year or two ago for Fox News, the big time, he got fired.
Yeah.
He used to have, you know, the Hummer driver, you know, that like girls a lot, you know, no specific ethics or morality. You know, I mean, you know, that's the way you can see that you know, and what did y'all call them, the hotel buses? You can see it. You don't have to, the only people that don't see it is the people that's being hustled.
Right.
Everybody, and they have to be squares. They have to be somebody that just walked off the Howard campus somewhere, you know, out of high school. Everybody else, they know what it is. But anyway, so what happened was, I think we came in somewhere near the end of the middle. And that changed the whole, you know, all that clownery.
Right.
It exposed that if you think you're going to be a clown on this show, you're going to be a clown. But, and man, when the Zionists began to hear that stuff, they said, my God, they played it that night. They played it once more at 1:30, and that was it. By that time, by the morning time, what's the name, it called in, Abraham Foxman said, get that off the air. That was it, you know. So, that's why I brought them out. And this one about in South Africa, it's kind of, you know, to be historically accurate can be, it could be a curse or it could be a blessing. That's right. Because that thing Napoleon had, when he could go on the battlefield and look and see all the advantages and disadvantages of the battlefield right away. It's a few people have that. You know, they have it. And they are at all his battles except for Wellington. He could see everything. You know, that's, and going to Russia, that's kind of a little mistake there too. Running off where everybody would see the size of that place. And the winner, anyway, it knocked him over and it knocked over everybody that came after him too. But anyway, when they listened to us on that program, they cut it right away. They cut it right away because they realized that this stuff is thought out, it's planned, you know what I mean? Okay, now, about historical accuracy. We're going through a heavy state of that right now. Because I was thinking like, well, you get older, you get a little, you know what I mean, a little less accurate and stuff. That's not true, that's not what's happening. What's happening now is, this thing is getting pinpoint accurate. I mean, almost day to day, you know, being able to forecast and outline the stuff that's going on. I mean, I don't know if you recognize it, if y'all recognize it, but I recognize it with myself. It's getting deadly. I mean, and it's getting, you don't want to even say nothing sometimes, man. But it's our duty. Okay, now, so, I want to mention a few things here that will help put where we are into perspective. So, and then I'll pass it around, or at least some of it around, after I finish. This is, I just had one little copy. I got a few more of mine, and then I'll pass this so you can read it. To see, this is just, I'm dealing with, at the top of this one is 12/17/86. If you go down to, well, visited Fahim, we don't want to get into that. But ran Chabot, that's Lake Chabot. You can see at the top, ran 10 miles. Heavy bag, you know what I mean? And it also means a bag that I would wear, that would,
Sweat bag.
good God Almighty.
Right.
Now down on 12/20. Began trip in Vega, turned around. Then I turned around, I came and left a couple of days later. I rented a car for a trip, left at 1:30. arrived Tuesday night, slept in the Arlington parking lot. That's Arlington, Texas. So I'm going through that area. I imagine, yeah. I slept in the parking lot because Dallas was a few blocks. I could have got there, but I just said I'm going to go to sleep. Because that's, was headed to Dallas. So at the program, I'm the chairman of the program on the 25th, that's Christmas Day. We have a meeting with Dr. Siddiqui, Safa Bangash, Muhammad Barker, one of our friends, and a mixed lecture. That was a good program. At that program, I'm the chairman of that program. That's on, and it's mixed lectures on the 26th. I remember it was a good lecture on Zuhud from Brother, one of our brothers gave a good lecture on Zuhud. That's when I first became aware of the subject, you know, about the Zahid, Hajj Massoud, in fact, which was an Iranian. I want to just stop and mention, Hajj Massoud was an Iranian. He lived here, he was married to a white lady, and as far as the MSA, PSG, he was one of the good speakers at that time, because at that time they didn't have, like now they got these rag-headed ulama everywhere. They didn't have them in those days. The best lectures were the students, and he had been here for a long time. He had been a student in Qum for about 6 years, so he had the foundation of, he was one of their main speakers. We spoke on the platform all the time. And his lecture, he was a good speaker and he did a good job. Around in Illinois and all that, Carbondale. In Carbondale, there's a guy, Syed Singhi. Syed Singhi, Syed the Chinaman. He was an Arab Chinaman, a Saudi Chinaman. That's why they call him Syed Singhi, you know. He was Syed, but he was a Chinaman, you know. But he was pure Wahhabi. You wouldn't, hey man, he was fully Wahhabiized. There were Malaysians here. In those days, it was different in Indiana and those places. It was tons of Malaysians. And other places up in Oregon, they had certain contracts. Anyway, the Malaysians, we considered the Malaysians some of the best Muslims. They were good Muslims. They really, at that time, they had just had a problem with Anwar Ibrahim. You go back to 81, he left the student movement and he got mixed up in politics. Anyway, all of that stuff. So we was right in the mix of all of those things. So you can see that anything that's happening now, all of those people that are up there in that, we done already been through with them. I mean, been with it, we've been with them, we know them and all of that. But anyway, so this guy, with Hajj Massoud, what they did is that Hajj Massoud used to deal with Malaysians a lot, the young students. And sometimes he was influencing them toward Shiism a little bit, you know. Not a little bit, a lot. So he had a crew there. And now that was the worst thing to do, because see, if Wahda is the key, and Sunnis and Shias are equal and all of that, then they used to call it Shia Dawa. Then it wasn't a rule, but it would be like, if we're all equal, then it's okay to talk about that stuff. But Sunnis stay Sunnis, Shias stay Shias, and we'll have it okay. So suddenly, the brother Hajj Massoud was he had converted a whole crew in that area, in the Midwest. That means in Kansas and Missouri. He was influencing all of them. So, to show you how dirty the Saudis are, with Hajj Massoud, they had one of the crews that went back to Malaysia. Now he's believing he done converted them all to Shiism. That crew gets back, and this is rare for Malaysians. They borrow a whole lot of money from him to establish a masjid. He even puts his house on, gets a loan on his house. And he don't hear from them guys anymore. It was a Saudi trick. It was a dirty, mean Saudi trick, You guys pretend to be, he's the main one in this country pushing that. Well, there was one in California. There was one in Nevada trying to pull the same thing. I mean, to me, it didn't make any difference. But, they got, they destroyed his whole family and everything by getting those loans, and they disappeared. He couldn't go to Malaysia and find them. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, Hajj Massoud. Now, on these things right here, you can see on the 27th, I left Dallas, going to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Stayed all day. I left down there at 7:30 p.m. Then on the 28th, I was back in Dallas for the main program. Then I left in the afternoon for Tulsa. It's another program going. There's another big program with the Arabs. The Arab Shias, yeah. So we're in Tulsa, then we leave Tulsa and we go back to Dallas. Finally on New Year's, we're leaving Dallas, and we go back to Baton Rouge, Louisiana again. But this is a meeting at the Masjid. They had a nice masjid there. In fact, they had a lot of Malaysians. I had spoke in Baton Rouge. Well, this type of schedule was common at that time. Wow. No, you can see on the other page. We go over to the other page. This might go back a little. You see Berkeley, Juma, Rand. What is this? Okay. You see Rand Chabot and an iron, but this is the top of the next page where it has $146 donation. Okay. If you look down at the left, it says notebooks missing. You see that? And it says 4 date books. And then accordion folder missing. But I labeled it as a big victory. That means all of the stuff that I have like this, all of that stuff is missing. So that means it's your whole record. But it wasn't a big deal because all of this stuff, I had a clipboard and I wrote all this stuff like this. So everything on here that they stole, I had it in another folder. The minute, all of this stuff. You see what I mean? So they stole the solid stuff. But I had the original draft of all the notes, So, but I call it a big victory because they showed their hand. They showed their hand. Ran Chabot was lake. Chabot Bass Cove, that means we ran all the way around the lake and then back to Bass Cove. That means that was a 13-mile run, easy. And of course my son was arrested that night. My other son is arrested the next night. That's because we're going to have a program on the next page. We had a program, Masjid al-Islam clears the air, on December the 14th, 86. So they arrested them, I don't know if you can see it, they arrested them on the 10th, and then, you know, before the program. So anyway, the next page, we're back to, what is that, 126?
That's the last one. You gave me 3. That was the last one.
Okay, then I'll give you, you could hold on to them, and I'll give you this right here. But, you could see right here, 131. That means, remember I was telling you about, we was dumping some trash on Railroad Avenue, and right here it says gun pull. So the guy pulled a gun, and I told, you know, I wasn't paying no attention to him. Hell's Angels looking guy, pulled up, you can't dump that trash here. Of course, he don't have nothing to do with it, but they thought since he had a gun, you know, that I would listen to what he said. And I moved toward him. Who you talking to? What's wrong with you? That's when they notated this nigga is martyrdom prone, because he's evidently not influenced by that. So I'll give you that. You'll see that date is 31st, 87. Well, you can see all these meetings on San Francisco State Malcolm X program, and that's on the 3rd. Of course, ran every day, so I could tell where I ran. I ran the loop, I ran Chabot, but Chabot, this is just running behind the dam, running 8 miles, ran Chabot again, ran the loop. That's a short run. The loop, you just go around. And, no, that's okay. Yeah, he already gave it to you. No, I'm gonna pass this so you can verify what I'm saying, and I have a reason for why I'm doing this. 7th of February. Hujjatul Islam Sayyid Zaki Suwaid. He's big in the Islamic movement. Back when he was in Malaysia, Indonesia, he was leading the prayer. He's a Shia Imam.